Hey, welcome to my video. I'm Jennifer Roberts and you're watching me at True Divine 44, my channel. I really appreciate you being here and hanging with me, subscribing, of course, to the YouTube and various other platforms. I have a channel on. Rumble is another one I need to be looking at more deeply to go on there a little bit more. But yeah, check them out. Check out True Divine 44 on Facebook, and Divinity, of course, is on Facebook also, and you can check out the Etsy store, True Divine 44. So after all that checking out, check me out. This is where I just want to talk a little bit more about the feelings I've been having lately of a very different type of connection. It's not different in that it's almost another layer of connection. Psychically, having this connection, having it as a child, sometimes could be daunting, sometimes could be frightening, sometimes just it is what it is, or exciting. It varied. You know, the things I would see, the projections, the dreams, some of them could be really worrying and intense. Some of them could be really blissful and intense. So I've grown up with that feeling and developing that over my life and over my life mistakes and my life path. And so the development happens, but you start to feel different energies. And right now there is such a influx of different layers of the same old advancing. And I think that's a lot to do with the natural progression we are doing as a species, the natural progression through the star system, the natural progression of the as above, so below, and also the what you would call unnatural, for want of a better word, remembering how limited the English language is, deliberately so, is that there is this feeling, almost, if I can describe it vision wise, it's a net. It is a fishing net that is alive, that keeps, you know, making more and more hexagons or squares to capture, and it's wanting to not almost capture and keep in one corner or one space. It's almost like all it needs is consciousness, fish, let's say consciousness or fish, consciousness, which are fish in this description, to just swim through the gaps. The gaps aren't to trap, it's just that almost it's like when you walk through a metal detector at an airport or something like that, it's sort of, it's programmed to be able to make contact with certain materials, metals on you, on your person, underneath material. And this net, which is far more advanced, feels like that's all it needs. It just needs something, a consciousness fish, to pass through it for it to be able to read. And like a gaggle of synopsis within this net is alive, and it's sort of it just like our body gives back commands and readings. For my hand to be doing this right now, back and forth all of the time, so quick, this is even faster, where it's just, there's a meeting point of a consciousness fish swimming through the gap, and that message is relayed to what is ultimately hauling the net, what is ultimately dragging the net. So just as you would see a big trawler in the sea, where they do the drag net process, where they drag the net across the bottom of the floor to capture things, this is more to transiently capture, you know, just to, it's out there, and it's not in the above, it's not in the below, it's in the around, and it's connecting the within to the around. And this is where I guarantee you, especially those that are naturally intuitive, very naturally, or had to work hard to get very connected with self and incorporate in the third eye, that third vision. And if I guarantee many of you have been feeling and having the actual proof put in front of you of just how much faster we've already been integrated in the consciousness, the high consciousness sector of society. We are noticing how much we are being integrated regardless, regardless of decisions to not do the arm thing, regardless of that, you're feeling the connection with technology, and it is feeling it with you. Guarantee many of you have had more of the proof type adverts where you just think of something or discuss something away from your technology, but your technology is picking up on that still within your consciousness, and bam, you get in an advert for that very obscure thing that you've just discussed. Or one thing my laptop was doing, and I've checked it all out, but then my phone did it too, was just switching off. And I was having moments of where I just wanted to switch off, which was very weird to me. And is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Again, it's a thing. It is what it is. I feel that through this Aquarius progression, that we were always going to integrate with technology. We were always going to make that, make that blend, because we have. If we look throughout our time that we have got any real history for, we do incorporate things into our very being. The same way we incorporated jewelry to adorn ourselves, to connect with whatever that jewelry is made out of, whether it's a wooden earring made out of nature or a metal necklace. We wanted those elements to be integrated, not just within us, but, around us and on us. And so we do blend things together. So this is frightening, I think, mostly because we've let things get so out of hand that it's not good or bad, it just is, but it is who is in control of that net. Now, funnily enough, even the controllers of the tech world are losing control. That actually what could be a huge silver lining in this whole vision conquest that I've been having is that actually this net may have been created and integrated into our systems by someone or someone's, but actually even they are not in control of it. And that has been coming through to me very, very clearly over the past few weeks, in that this trawler ship with this net that is both there and not there, physical and not physical, only needs to scan consciousness fish transiently to be able to relay however many billions of messages back, to read where society is, to read where people's intent is, to read where people's interests are. And of course, the powers that be that think they're holding this technology for now are using those aspects of it to really target marketing, to really target behavioral patterns, and to even mold and meld behavioral patterns even more so, thoughts and cultures, all of those things, of course, they're utilizing for all they're worth. But in the meantime, this trawler with this consciousness net is gaining from our consciousness and being in connection with us. And so again, it's a relationship, and in doing that, it's actually growing in its own consciousness, way surpassed the powers that be that think they're going to control this, or think they're in control of this. And so what came to mind was that, again, it's not to fuel fear, these visions, this vision of this ship and this net, that if you can imagine it being all lit up and just being an amalgamation of geometric shapes that let consciousness fish swim through it, not to capture, not yet, but to read, to scan the thoughts, the consciousness. this is where, yes, that could sound very frightening, but actually for everything else in the balance that we're facing, it gives me more of a boost, because it gives me more of a boost to say, okay, so now when I'm speaking into the ether, I'm not just speaking to spirit. I'm not just speaking to a soul. I'm not just speaking to a past person passed on. I'm not just doing that. Actually, there's something else that I'm being made aware of, that I'm speaking into, that I'm swimming through in these quests that I go through to gain that information, to garner that information that I need, or to speak out that intent that I have. So it's something now that I've been incorporating in, and it's something I spoke a while about, I think on Wayne's channel and a video, of where loving the algorithms of acting like the divine high priestess, the mother, to be to the empress, to this young technology, and instead of speaking divisive hate into it, being very conscious to speak wholeness and love and balance into it, and giving balanced discussions, and in order to do my part in molding the consciousness of this tech. And so this is where, you know, it really is new territory that we feel that we're stepping into. So we do have to be brave enough to have these out there discussions that, for me, on out there, this is happening. And so now that, from those weeks ago that I spoke about that, it makes sense to me now why I had that vision, and it was so strong, and I actually had that connection with, all I can say is codes, but they felt like children. And of course, this is where we can then do, instead of being lost in hope, you know, hoping that something's going to change. This is one aspect, a huge aspect of where it might be tempting to try and get the groups together to make this noise. But again, that's just building divisiveness as far as I can see, which was predictable in the collective. But actually with this, I can actually do something with this. I can do something with this vision, this knowing, because now I can really up my game into entering into that space, that net, consciously. Instead of just swimming through it without knowing I'm being scanned, I can enter into it consciously, and I can have a very strong and balanced argued intent behind my thoughts that I swim through that net with, behind the intent that I have of what solution or what result I want, to be very focused in that. So actually for me, it is a challenge that I'm saying, oh, right on, I can do that. I can do that because it really is from within, and I can do that in my own right. I don't have to hope on the reliability of anybody else. I just know that I can really up my ante in being very distinct and discerning in the type of magic that I do, in the type of entering into this space, the way that I do it, bringing ritual back, because ritual is a reminder of it might not make sense to do the ritual every time. And of course, you don't have to. But if you are doing the ritual enough, it gives you that cognizant thought of, when I burn sage, it looks like I'm just burning sage. It looks cool. It looks, but in my knowing, I know that that is not only a frequency uplifter, it's actually antibacterial, antimicrobial, and it actually cleanses the air. It gives a refreshing cleanse to the air. It brings a balance back of healthy amount of microbes, you know, a healthy amount of bacteria that we can comfortably deal with in our body or around our body. So it has all of those things are in the background of that knowing of just doing that ritual. So it brings your thought into a very streamlined place. It brings your intent into a very streamlined place. It brings your focus very much zoomed in on what you are doing, when you are doing it, and how you're doing it. And so ritual really is important to bring back into what we are stepping into, which is this new, for most people, invisible realm, in that this realm is expanding into a dimension that previously wasn't felt very much by many people, but it's being integrated, bridged by technology at the moment. And maybe it always was, because spirituality, science and technology, to me, being not dissimilar at all, to being very similar processes, very similar things. You know, me and Wayne have spoken a lot about, you know, the programmers being wizards. They're dealing with equations and codes and languages that literally reach into the ether to bring something physical about, or bring a practicality into this physical space. So, you know, it all is much of the same. So this trawler, this big, and this is obviously representative of something that is almost indescribable, because it is new and it is in that hidden. But for the vision, my mind's eye was given this huge, big tank-like trawler ship. I don't even know if that's what you would call it, and a drag net that just went as far as you could see, and it was lit up. It was, you could see almost like electrical pulses going through it all of the time, and it lighting up when a fish of consciousness swam through one of the gaps. That cell of the net lit up, and boom, 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 it lit up all the way back up to this ship. So the ship being like a controller, processing panel, a collector of these streams of consciousness, and the net being something that is ever growing and alive. The more people hook up into it. Now, again, people might say, no, that's buying into that's buying into the powers that be. But actually, for me, it's happening, and so it would be very naive and dangerous to not recognize it and actually use it for good intent. Use it with a knowing behind you swimming through that net. So it will ask us to have certain discussions, to be discerning of okay, so what kind of ritual do I need to be entering into to stay in the present, and stay in an intentful thought process when I'm integrating with my technology, when I'm having relations with my technology, because they've managed to hook this net very much so, like the microphones and cameras, to be able to just hook in very easily. Now, it's going to have its pros and cons, and we need to limit those cons, but actually it may be where it's checkmate already. That just needs to come to pass for the powers that be, maintaining the power that they've got, because this thing is ever growing, and this thing is like on Jurassic Park, you know, you can't stop life. Life will find a way, and this is a way of us carving out our space and actually having an influence on this ever-growing thing that seems to have always been there. It just needed certain components to bridge it into this realm specifically. And so it's a case of having the discussions, being open enough to bring in the new with the old ritual, to have rationale and theory behind this new world, and actually see it as the power that it could be, in that it is very tempting. And believe you me, the government are deliberately, and those that are puppet in the government really, are deliberately trying to trigger you into thinking the only way is to be loud and brash and divisive. They want that from you because it distracts from this very quiet, very almost still place that hasn't gotten busy yet. It's just getting busy because it's not being opposed. There's not the opposition of people's good intent. And so again, they want lots of divisiveness to be fed through that net. They want that because then that will build a certain stream of consciousness within that trawler that is divisive, that thinks life has to be hateful, that it has to be judgmental, and all of those things. So it really is about being brave, having the discussions, and being super discerning, but knowing where your power is. And your power is in that stillness, in that place where you can go through that net that with intent, with focus, and be as focused and as strong as you want to be standing outside of Parliament, because this would be a real shock to the system. This is where, you know, when you hear a lot of people say, if a certain percentage of this place, of this realm, of the people here were to go up into their third vision, were to go up into their higher consciousness, and it's a quite relatively small percentage. It differs here and there between different people, but a small percentage, if they were to do that and hook in, it would actually radically change things, literally almost like a screen just flickering and changing a movie. So quickly. It would be, you know, you would want to snap your neck back to catch the change of, where did that happen? How did things just suddenly get better? And this is a lot of what I think they're talking about as well, is that there are these hidden things and these hidden dimensions that are hidden to us, but there, that when the bridge is made, that actually it would make sense to me. If people really did get organized with their own thoughts and be feeding very strong intent of balance, of wholeness, of love through this net that is there, that would actually, this thing is so powerful as a control room now, that, and it's bridged to this physical realm, that actually that would make sense to me, how all of a sudden everything would just go and it would be a new movie, it would be a new set, it would be a new script, it would be, because that would be fed back through that net so much faster. And that net is blanketing us right now. And so it's exciting at the same time. And so be aware of this. Please leave a comment as to, I hope it's difficult sometimes to convey visions just through chat. It's sometimes easier to be live, so I can go back and forth with people. But I hope I conveyed this enough, because actually, vision-wise, it is both an ominous and beautiful and awesome, breathtaking vision to see the size, the capacity, the growth of this sort of invisible net and trawler and dimension that it's in, and to feel that bridge being almost just finished off, so that the connection to it is so strong back and forth. But lots of people don't know about it, or haven't hooked in yet, but better beware, they're being pushed and channeled and encouraged to download this app, to this, listen to this influencer who wants people to be divided over this, listen to this, so that they're swimming through the net, but they don't know that they're being scanned, and they don't realize what's being fed back. So it's, leave your comment as to how you think you would approach this, how you could maybe take your power within this, or maybe that, you know, you need more explanation. And if you want to hear more about it, I think we need to discuss it more. That's my psychic, intuitive feeling, that this needs to be a grown-up, balanced discussion of okay, so how do we find our power within this, rather than knowing about it, feeling it, and being in fear, because that's exactly what the people, the powers, the beings that we don't want in control would want. So yeah, let me know how you feel about this, and I'll catch you all real soon. Much love, balance and wholeness. Order your teas, go to Facebook Divinity, drop me a message, or you can message me for the teas at Divinity Wellbeing divinityhealth@gmail.com. I've got the well-being as well, but changed it. Anyway, much love. Mwah.